let's talk about attachment with the fearful avoidant. So, a fearful avoidant generally has the core wounds that they crave closeness, but people don't feel safe. Usually, there's some kind of deep abandonment wound and fear of betrayal that a fearful avoidant is dealing with. Oftentimes, their caregiver is someone they loved very, very much, but they were also deeply afraid of in some way. Not necessarily due to physical abuse or even full on emotional abuse, but really just could be the reactivity, the emotional instability of that caregiver. Any number of things could create that nervous system fear that a child goes through when they have a parent who is present sometimes, loving sometimes, but unpredictable and kind of scary other times. There's usually that fear of attachment towards your caregiver, which sometimes is because of an abandonment wound, maybe a parent who's left you or in some way betrayed you horribly. There is fear of connection, but desperate desire for connection, which creates this push-pull dynamic within the fearful avoidant that can be very, very confusing. It also creates the capacity for many fearful avoidants to lean more anxious or more dismissive based on the partner that they're with. Like a fearful avoidant, when they're with someone who's more anxious, it might activate their dismissiveness, their desire for space. If an anxious person is pursuing them more than they want to, it's going to feel desperate. It's going to feel like too much and like an ick, right? And so they'll be like, okay, like I can't handle that. So they might be more likely to pull away with an anxious person. And then with an avoidant person, a fearful avoidant might become more activated into anxiety, chasing to try to repair the relationship, trying to figure out what's wrong. The fearful avoidant is one that will walk into a room and be able to read the vibes of what's going on with people. They will watch the tiniest little expressions in your face, inflections in tone, shift in your energy, and they'll be like, what's wrong? What's wrong, right? Anxious people will be this way too, because what they've learned is to hyper attune to facial expression, vibe, tone, emotions of their caregivers, their attachment figures, because that's how they stay safe. Usually they've been in an environment where life was unpredictable and they had to get ahead of how their caregiver was feeling because their caregiver's responses would vary so much, and the level of safety they'd feel within that variation was so intense that if they could predict how their caregiver is feeling, then they know how to adjust themselves in order to stay safe. Are you doing this in a relationship right now? Then you might be a fearful avoidant. If you are reading into facial expression, tone, energy, and then chasing for repair or shutting down out of fear, you might be a fearful avoidant. Here's the thing with fearful avoidance is that attunement, that hyper awareness of what everybody else is feeling, it is a weakness until it becomes a strength. Until you learn how to regulate your nervous system while you're reading all of these things, then all of that information you're taking in is just triggering you into fear and editing yourself so that you're more likely to be accepted or get that connection that you're hoping for from another person. All of that is just another form of self-abandonment. When you become a version of yourself that is not true, when you silence feelings that you're actually having because you're afraid of being too much, but also not enough at the same time, these are patterns that you've got to learn how to work through, stay with yourself, focus on how to fully be yourself in a regulated state, but still communicate, and then hold back some things that maybe don't need to be communicated, because with fearful avoidance, when we're activated into anxiety, we do tend to lash out and say things that we regret later. So that's something that once you learn nervous system regulation, the way that you read people can be your superpower when you know how to see it, take it in, not misinterpret it, not make too many assumptions. It helps you to stay calm and to show up more honestly and more calmly and clearly in conflict.